halfway down the coast of South America, where the tropical forest reaches down towards the Atlantic Ocean, a huge statue of Christ overlooks a city that is reckoned to be one of the most glamorous in the world. Its name is Rio de Janeiro. It's the second largest city in Brazil, an important centre for business and industry. That's the ordinary side of Rio. The other side is far from ordinary. A spectacular setting of mountains, sea and forest, and what the people of Rio treasure most of all, their superb beaches. Like all Brazilian cities, Rio is full of contrasts. The old next to the new, motorways next to dirt tracks, shacks next to skyscrapers. Like other Brazilian cities too, many people live in homes they have made themselves in areas called favelas. In Rio, a third of the population live in these districts. 40 years ago, when people started to pour into Rio looking for work, the favelas were collections of wooden shacks. Building your own home was, and still is, in most cities the only option for new arrivals. Today, the favelas look quite different. The largest in Rio is Rochina, population 100,000, a kilometre or so from the beach. The residents have transformed Rochina bit by bit into a small city. It's been upgraded from wood to bricks, with shops, schools, entertainment and 25 channels on satellite. Considering the steep hillsides, that's quite a feat. There's one bus route into the favela, but after that it's a question of moving everything by hand, including the rubbish. DIY in Rochina never stops. Geraldo Souza is rebuilding the balcony at the front of his house. Sprucing up your home is a popular thing to do on Saturdays. Geraldo's neighbours have come to help, and he in turn will help them. The Souza's story is a classic one for Rochina people. They moved from the countryside 20 years ago in search of work in Rio. Since then, they've just about made ends meet. Geraldo has part-time work in a fruit and vegetable market. His wife, Clotilde, is a cleaner for a family in the posh part of the city. Her Saturday pastime is reading the neighbours' fortunes. Unlike their parents, the Souza's children were all born in Rochina. The eldest is 13-year-old Leandro. Like millions of Brazilian teenagers, he spent his whole life in a favela.
What do I do for fun? Well, I play football, I fly my kite, I play with my brothers and the kids up here. Lots of things. Sometimes I fool around my house and my mum gives me a clip round the ear. But I don't mope around for very long. I go out and play again and have a good time.
And what about his contribution to the family budget?
I go down to the shopping centre in Gabe at 7 o'clock. When I see somebody parking, I say, "Can I look after your car?" Then if he says, "You can," I say, "How long are you going to stay?" Then he says, "I'm going to stay an hour." "Okay, that's fine," I say. "I'll wait for you." I earn £3 or £4 and then I come back home. I have 2 goes on the pinball machine and I give the rest to my mum. I think my school's very nice. I like the sports hall. It's a nice place to play with my friends. I like my teacher. She's good. What I like studying most is maths and Portuguese. When I grow up, I'd like to be a lawyer. But to do that, I'm going to have to study a lot. I think one day I'll make it to be a lawyer, but it's going to be hard work.
With 100,000 people crammed onto a single hillside, it's hardly surprising that Rochina has a reputation for being a tough place and one that people are always saying bad things about. What does Clotilda, Leandro's mother, think about that?
What do I think? I think they're mistaken. Sure, there are lots of bad things, but there are lots of good things too. There are good things like people getting on well with their neighbours. The bad things are the criminals. They kill innocent people who have nothing to do with the crime. They beat people up. But Rochina is better than it was. In the past, there were criminals all over the place. People were scared to go out and leave their children at home. But now it's better.
And Leandro, what does she want for him?
I would like him to study and work hard. Life isn't easy. You have to work and fight for what you want. I don't want him carting things round on a building site. I want him to make something of his life.
Overcrowding is not just a problem for Rochina. It's become a serious issue for the whole city. The sea and the mountains may give Rio its glamorous look, but on the other hand, they also hem the city in. Twice a day, Rio grinds to a halt as the rush hour takes the city over. To try and keep the traffic moving, tunnels have been bored through the hills that cut off one part of the city from the other. Not that long ago, Rio went looking for more space for a brand new tunnel which starts beneath the shops in the city centre. At the end of the tunnel, the road goes up on stilts, clinging to the cliffs. And then into another tunnel. 20 kilometres out from Rio, the road finally breaks free of the last range of hills, and there it is. Precious flat land and a brand new city called Bara. Or, in the minds of some people, the new Rio de Janeiro. This area was practically empty 15 years ago. It's now home to 130,000 people, the vast majority of whom have moved out of Rio itself. Bara is no suburb. It's a proper city, full of entertainment and leisure facilities. As is common in the USA, the city is built along a motorway. There are 5 kilometers of shops and shopping malls. Bara claims to be the largest shopping center in South America. It's also been called the California of Brazil. The Lopez family moved from Rio to Bara 6 months ago. Luis, Paulo and Rosana run a small business selling fruit and vegetables to restaurants and hotels.
É por aqui que você vem?
Não.
Their new home, like all in Bara, is a closely guarded place. Everyone is carefully checked in and checked out. Over the last 10 years or so, the number of people in Brazil owning their own cars and their own homes and who think of themselves as middle class has risen a great deal. And for those who've made it, like the Lopez family, the standard of living can be much the same as a middle-class family in Europe or North America. What were their reasons for leaving Rio's South Zone, the local name for the residential area near the beaches?
Em princípio, a segurança para mim é a melhor vantagem.
It's mainly safety that's the biggest advantage for me. Here, my children can go to school and come back on their own. In the South Zone, it'd be impossible. At their age, they'd never be able to walk in the street. I'd never let them out alone. So basically, it's a question of safety.
Então, acho que primordialmente a segurança.
I go out to work, so I need everything to hand. There's the supermarket, the shopping centre, the club we go to. We've got the little bus, the Redentor, that goes all round Bara and takes you everywhere. Everything you need is nearby.
Para mim, a gente já tá no Barrinha, tem tudo que a gente precisa aqui.
Uma, duas, continua, já melhora. Duas, vai embora, Bruno.
Bara is especially good for spare time activities. Just downstairs from the Lopez's flat, Daniela, their daughter, goes to a weekly soccer lesson after school. Why does Daniela like Bara?
Because I like going around in the street on my own. I can go where I like. It's safe here. The beach is not far. There's the club too. I like going there. Then there are the shops and the IPM, which is a mini market where you can get a sandwich or an ice cream. I've got everything here and I like it.
But isn't living in Bara just a bit boring compared with the glamour of the South Zone?
Ai, não acho. Eu não gosto muito.
No, I don't think so. I don't like too much hassle. Can you imagine what it must be like to live inside one of those flats? Crazy traffic, people talking and bellowing at one another all the time. And it doesn't stop at night either. It's horrendous to try and sleep in those places. The noise never stops. There's no doubt I much prefer Bara.
O futuro do Rio tá aqui já.
The future of Rio is here. In a way, it's already here. Bara is a very young and go-ahead place. Bara covers an enormous area. There's room for it to grow. In the South Zone, there's no room left for anything. It's like a tin of sardines. If you want to spend time at the beach at the weekend, you can't go because it's all polluted and full of people. So really, we're finding Bara to be more fantastic than the South Zone.
Tá descobrindo que é mais fantástico a Barra do que a Zona Sul.
The latest figures for Rio have come up with a big surprise. The city has stopped growing. The centre of the city is full up, and the middle classes are moving out. At least this means the city has time to think about how to sort out its problems. Rubem Cesar's job is just that. He's head of a campaign to get Rio back on its feet. We asked him whether he thinks that the stream of people leaving Rio can ever be stopped.
Eu acho que eles vão voltar.
I think they'll come back. Of course, Rio's been through some difficult times in recent years, but it's already buckling down and it's getting back on its feet. Big cities everywhere are in a crisis. London, New York, not just Rio. And Rio is already recovering. We have projects in the favelas. There's a lot happening in the favelas. They're full of creative people working, producing things, running businesses. So we're trying to support those people by setting up new creches, medical centers, schools and roads. There's a lot of life in the favelas.
Another part of the campaign is to get the city's police force back in touch with the community on a friendly, everyday basis. With crime often getting out of control, nobody really trusts them.
The police deal with difficult things like drug trafficking, crime, corruption, violence. So for us, the police have become a big challenge. People want a police force they feel close to, that they can trust, that they can talk to. That's the kind of police people want, and that's what we're working towards. It's not easy, but my greatest wish is for a police force that is decent.
Amaro Dominguez has lived all his life in a favela that's being redeveloped. He's president of the Residents Association and sees things from the point of view of somebody who's in the thick of one of Rio's biggest everyday problems. People who still turn up on the edge of the city with nothing.
The future looks worse all the time. The situation in Rio is getting out of hand because of the growing number of people. The city can't cope with the numbers coming in from the countryside. People are being kicked out of the countryside and come to the big cities looking for work. And when they get here, they've nowhere to live. They live abandoned under bridges, around the swamps in shacks built on stilts with no means of survival. The government should get more work and jobs going in the countryside, stop the growth of the big cities, Rio, Sao Paulo and the others, and I'm sure things will start getting better. But it's not for now. It'll be for 10 or 15 years' time.
I'm optimistic. Rio breathes optimism. You cannot possibly go through a summer here without saying, it can't be right that things go wrong here. This city simply cannot be left to die. It cannot be snuffed out by the chaos that affects all big cities the world over.